Hello, my name's Chrissy Zimmerman. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you for your interest in taking suggestions from the public and for inviting me here today to share my short presentation about enhancing your project by extending the community garden concept. You'll find the transcript for the presentation as well as an essay I wrote on community gardens and underprivileged communities in the presentation pack. On reviewing the diagrams of the Mount Cook development, there were some things that stood out for me. This is a dense social housing project, and I feel you're missing an important opportunity in terms of landscaping and enhancement of quality of life. For instance, practical, particularly in wet and windy Wellington weather, car parking could be moved below ground. Clotheslines should be removed, and residents could dry their clothes on their balconies because laundry on lines in public areas tends to go missing. This would open up a lot more usable green space. According to your website, 60 of the city's most vulnerable and homeless people will be housed in this development. You're offering 381 homes, and of these at least 44 will be families with children, and in all likelihood the number could be double or triple that. Vulnerable communities come with their own set of challenges: illness, depression, and substance abuse, to name just a few. Homing so many vulnerable people together in such close quarters risks turning the development into a ghetto if people are not supported, given a sense of belonging and community and pride in the neighbourhood. The Government Health Survey in 2016 found that 1 in 5 New Zealand children lived in households with moderate to severe food insecurity. It could be argued that most of the children living in the Mount Cook development would suffer from food insecurity at some point. I believe that community gardens adapted to suit the needs of the underprivileged communities could go a long way in developing a sense of community and addressing the food insecurity problem among those living in social housing. Community gardens are not new in this country. Before New Zealand was colonised, Maori traditionally cultivated community gardens, taking care of their own, coming together in large groups around food. This is confronting because now Maori and Pacifica peoples who have no access to land are the most likely to be food insecure. During the Second World War, the Dig for Victory initiative was important, ensuring that people did not starve. I believe that the time has come to learn from our heritage and to once again make community gardens a feature of our culture, especially in vulnerable communities. Government and local councils and health authorities are coming together across the country to research and continue the dialogue in terms of feeding the insecure. There is much to be gained from supporting community gardens financially, not only in terms of nutrition, but also for mental and physical health. Garden initiatives have the potential to bring communities together. I would therefore put it to you that the 6 apple and pear trees planned for the development is simply not enough. There's an opportunity here to develop the entire landscape into a predominantly edible garden to supplement the food supply of fresh fruit for those living in the complex. However, urban community gardens in poorer areas around the world often fail, even after they've had a lot of money invested in them. Tyrone Day, who manages gardens in poverty-stricken areas in the US, observes that the poor for whom gardens are created are often a product of their environment and have low self-confidence and self-esteem, and when left alone to manage the garden, they do not know where or how to organize or motivate the community. He recommends that community gardens require a community curriculum and full-time employee, not just any employee, a gardener and manager and someone who can motivate people. These solutions work well in Oamaru's Waitaki Community Gardens, which has a clear focus on people with social and economic challenges. The garden has a local government support and a full-time gardener whose job is supporting members by teaching new skills and developing their sense of well-being, self-confidence, and belonging in the community. Developers are beginning to use edible gardens in their designs in an effort to create safer, healthier, and more sustainable communities for the future. Developments which incorporate community gardens provide residents with the opportunity to come together and grow not only vegetables but friendships too. Wellington City Council already pays gardeners to grow and care for ornamental gardens around social housing developments. I would like to suggest that edible community gardens be grown and maintained by the council. Rather than costing, it could very well save the city and indeed the government money in terms of mental health and wellness for low socio-economic communities. Rather than concentrating on ornamental plants, I can envision seating areas with pagodas thick with grapes, berries growing on perimeter fences, all trees being fruit-bearing, borders made up of lettuces and edible flowers, children's mazes made up of raised beds full of vegetables, sunny walls covered by vines of climbing fruits. The possibilities are as endless as the imagination. In addition to this, I would recommend the Mount Cook development take a leaf out of the book of the Waitaki Garden and employ a full-time employee committed to supporting the community, gardeners who also happen to be social workers or counsellors, who rather than being seen as outsiders would work within and for the community. When building social housing, it is important to take into account that New Zealand has a food insecurity problem. Dense social housing is a concentration of very complex challenges created by impoverishment. Community gardens offer the possibility of providing nourishment important for food insecure children and supporting those with physical and mental illnesses. Community gardens need to be supported by professionals trained in supporting and motivating people. With government backing, New Zealand social housing could be a world leader in creating spaces that nourish the people living in them and creating true modern Gardens of Eden for those who need them most. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. I hope I've given you food for thought.